Egypt, 2288.
Somewhere in the desert, just outside of Cairo. The ruins of an ancient pyramid that have been found 12 years ago is researched and explored by Professor Nowich and his assistant, Ignacio Iggy Diaz. Little remains of the pyramid, but the tomb of an unknown pharaoh has been remarkably well preserved. The two are waiting for Professor Sobranovich to finally arrive and help them with their studies on the eons-old, precious tissue material. Without the professor's expertise, no one can operate the death-erasing multispectral ultra-wave mummified material igniter ray, or short, DEMUMMY RAY. Professor Sobranovich is the inventor of the DEMUMMY RAY and is currently fine-tuning all the parameters back in his laboratory. The scientific approach takes a lot of time, too long for some. Late one night, Professor Nowich and Iggy are still at work. The heat of the day is still nagging on the nerves of both of them. The cool night air offers no relief. The narrow, claustrophobic hallways throughout the pyramid give less than ideal conditions for focused work.
Professor Nowich and Iggy both want to examine what is inside the sarcophagus, but Professor Nowich knows he needs Professor Sobranovich's help. Ignacio, though, wants to finally find something interesting and not write long categorizing journal entries about broken clay amphorae and other knickknacks.
Their working relationship has become frayed.
Now that looks interesting. But what is it? There is some sturdy dirt over it I just can't remove by hand. I should just cut it away with the laser cutter. Now, where is my laser cutter? Where did I put that laser cutter? Ignacio should know. Ignacio? Where is this slow-moving and slow-thinking person that wants to be a scientist one day? Ignacio!
Yes, Professor. Yes, Professor?
Pass me the Type 2 beam laser cutter, will you?
The laser cutter we always use?
Apparently, we used it before.
So you mean the one we used before? No problem, Professor. Now where is our laser cutter? I think I stored it with our other tools inside our tool shelf.
Hello, adventurer! I'm your friendly point-and-click adventure gaming tutorial. I'm glad you found your way here. If you know how to play these two-click interface adventure game, you can skip this tutorial anytime by pressing the huge X button down there on the right. Otherwise, just follow what I have to tell you. The very basics of this game are, you can and should examine all surroundings. When you hover the mouse cursor over some point of interest, its name will be displayed in the bottom of the screen. Now, you can either press the right mouse button to look at that thing or person, or press the left mouse button to interact with that thing or person, be it picking it up, or trying to use it in some way or other, or talking to a person. Try it! Help Iggy find that laser cutter. There are a lot of things to click on, but please, stay focused on your job. You have serious science to do. Look around and right-click where you think you might have put the laser cutter tool. Maybe that tool shelf is a place to store tools. Right-click it. This isn't the right mouse button, man. We'll cover that gorgeous left mouse button in a second. Use the right mouse button to look at things, especially where you think your tools, like the laser. You should really try, just saying.
This might come in handy. This is the tool shelf where we store our tools. I remember I put the laser cutter in there yesterday.
Okay, we got this in the bag. Now what about opening the tool shelf?
I remember I put the laser cutter in there yesterday, but the desk is locked. I remember I put the laser cutter in, but the desk is... I'd like to demummify all of these old bones and ask them what life was like ages ago.
Don't touch it, Ignacio, please. We have to wait for Professor Sebranovich. The laser cutter, please.
I'd like to
Don't touch... We have... The laser cutter.
I wonder if we find a missing link in the ancient Egyptian timeline inside the sarcophagus. I'm sure the pharaoh will be from the 3rd dynasty or later.
All signs point to a pharaoh from the 2nd dynasty. Professor Elliston from Zurich will know more.
I can't open it with my bare hands.
Keep patience, please, Ignacio. We will open this sarcophagus with the accurate apparatus once Professor Sebranovich is here. He knows how to handle this brand new death-erasing multispectral ultra-wave mummified material igniter ray device best. Not only because he used it on 4,000-year-old test tissue already with some success, and our candidate here should be at least 1,200 years younger. Professor Sebranovich invented the death-erasing multispectral ultra-wave mummified material igniter ray device and is busy with finding the right parameters for an intact mummified body in his test laboratory in Prague. We also need Professor Elliston. He knows all the dates and missing dates of the pharaohs of the 2nd dynasty.
The more defined ornamentation on the sarcophagus makes me think it is from a later period, probably the 3rd or 4th dynasty. The portraits of people on the wall are more relaxed. This also hints to the 3rd dynasty.
We'll see what Professor Elliston has to say on this matter, dear Ignacio.
The details are very obvious.
We'll see, dear Ignacio.
An old stone. We suspect it fell off from within the pyramid sometime in the past, but we're not quite sure where it came from in the past, as there's no hole in the ceiling. This old rock is way too heavy to lift by hand. Ah! The light is very bright. Looking right into it is not so bright. The spotlight is way too hot to touch it now. I should really help Professor Nowitz with the laser cutter. This beam supports the ancient ceiling. Professor Nowitz sure won't like me removing it.
This is correct, Ignacio.
A rope is always useful. Yummy! Bananas are nutritious, healthy, and tasty, and very cheap on the markets in Cairo. A sturdy rope. A rope is always useful. I don't want to walk the banana. I'd rather just eat the banana.
Bring me the laser cutter, please, Ignacio.
I'm on it, but... Life 4,000 years ago must have been a hard life.
We first need to find more evidence of the ancients to precisely date these artifacts to a specific date or period. For all we know, this pyramid could be from a later date. Maybe it is older than all other pyramids we know of. What do you know? How can you be so diffuse with your timeline? We are here to exactly find out the dates of the artifacts we discover. Don't get distracted with all these fancy, lofty things and thoughts, will you please?
Maybe the ancient Egyptians didn't even have it as hard as I have it with a walking mummy as a boss.
What was that?
I said I admire you for the wisdom you gathered throughout the years. Where is the laser cutter again? I can't find it.
Ignacio Diaz!
Just call me Iggy by now.
Mr. Diaz! What would your father say? We use the same tools every day, and you lock them away in our desk drawer every evening after we've finished work. How will you ever find the long-forgotten secrets of ancient civilizations when you forget things like that so fast?
Why are you in your underwear, Professor?
Oh my! It is the heat, Ignacio. I feel weak sometimes when the heat is unbearable. I'm not as young as I was when on my last expedition here in Cairo. Can you believe we excavated the famous tomb of Tutankhamun back then?
There must have been very opulent treasures in there.
In the first few chambers we found only dust and old stone, and some very interesting hieroglyphs telling the legend of the Great Eternal Flame. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Okay, tell me another time, will you? Still, I smell your underwear.
I heard that, young student. It's very hot in here.
We're surrounded by cold stone.
And I am not in possession of that laser cutter I asked you for what feels like aeons ago.
The desk drawer with all our tools is locked. Again.
Of course it is. You locked it yesterday after I had to tell you to put away all our tools.
Nobody besides us is here. I didn't lock the desk drawer because nobody can come in here besides us. But now it is locked, and I don't have the key.
The key. Ah, yes. Let's see. Here it is. I accidentally put it in my pocket.
You always keep the key in your pocket.
Take good care of it.
Thanks, Professor Nowich. Talk to you later.
Yes, please don't disturb me now unless it's some kind of emergency.
Yes, sure. That should do the trick. Now I should just get that laser cutter. Now the tool shelf is unlocked. Ah, the high-pressure dampened silence drill. The mini flamethrower for archaeological reasons. And there's the laser cutter. I should just take it and bring it to Professor Nowich. There's the laser cutter, right where I put it for the professor before. I used to call it light sword sometimes, but the professor prefers the correct name. Let's see what he's up to now. The laser cutter. I like to call it light sword sometimes. Here is the laser cutter you asked for, Professor Nowich. So...
The key, Ignacio.
What key?
The desk key.
What about it?
Give it to me.
So you can claim I have it again?
Just let me handle this responsibility.
You drive me crazy. Here, please.
You better get some distance now, Ignacio. This is not for amateurs.
Amateurs.
Ignite!
It's traditional to say thank you. Professor Nowich, why have we still not used the demummifier on this thing? After all, that's what it was built for. What better way to understand the past than to bring it alive?
Young man, you seem to be blissfully ignorant of the fact that the death-erasing multispectral ultra-wave mummified material igniter ray device, or demummifier, as you so crudely call it, is still in the beta stage. You cannot just run it without the aid of Professor Saranovich, who is not here yet.
Alpha testing went well though, didn't it? That cat we brought back lasted a full month before dying.
Young man!
I do have a name, remember?
You must not fool around with things when you comprehend neither the technology behind it nor the implications of what using them could be. You clearly are not cognizant of either.
But...
Do not touch anything! I've had enough of your attitude. Tomorrow I will contact our sponsors at the Sphonx agency and get a replacement.
What? After all I've put up with from you?
Enough! Get out!
What? Are you totally bananas now? What am I supposed to do in the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere, way outside of Cairo?
Well, okay, that was rushed on my end. You can sleep here tonight, but then in the morning just go. I don't want to see you again.
You're lucky I'm not a violent man, you old fossil.